Interesting. I moved from Montreal out of school. I moved to Toronto really to pursue acting. But I think when you have a passion like music, it's always in your blood. And so I was actually looking through the weekly paper Now magazine, which none of these exist anymore. But back in those days, there was I magazine and Now magazine, and I was looking through the classifieds because I was new to Toronto. I didn't really know people here. And I was looking for some musical colleagues, really just to play with. I didn't have any eye or design on becoming a professional touring rock musician. In fact, I don't think I even really knew that that was a possibility for somebody like me. Excuse me. So I looked in Now magazine. I'd answered a few different classifieds. None of them seemed like the right fit. And I remember this one said, looking for rock goddess, call Tony. So I called Tony, and well, maybe I'm the rock goddess you're looking for. So he said, okay, come on down to Cherry Beach Studios, which is where their rehearsal space was at the time. I went, I met the band, 3 guys, Tom, Tony, and Thomas, and in comes Tara. They played me some of the songs they'd already written. I know. And they'd been a band together for a while. So they had a repertoire of songs. I loved what they played me. I sang with them. And I knew the moment I walked out of that room that band was for me. So I said, I want this. And they called me the next day and said, we want you. And we got to work. And I think 7 months later, we signed a record deal with a label in the United States, put out our first album in North America the year after, toured solid for a couple of years. And, it was something that I really never expected to do. Like I said, I didn't even know that was a life that I could jump into. And it's very demanding. You 200 plus shows a year. The first part of our touring life was in a 15 passenger van. It's a very grueling experience. We graduated to a tour bus eventually, which was a godsend. But I wouldn't trade in that experience for anything. You log that many hours on the road, you log that many hours doing live performances and that many reps, and it serves you well.
Well, you were great. We because of copyright issues, we didn't want to bring the sound up on that stuff because we get flagged for it. But
Right.
I encourage anybody who's watching the show to go to YouTube, check out any of your stuff with Joydrop, and of course your solo stuff too, because we're going to talk a little bit about that. You did have a solo career. You also were on Rockstar INXS. Tell us about those experiences and what was that? You're a finalist on Rockstar INXS.
Well, so Joydrop, we did our thing for a few solid years. Well, I guess we were together for 6 years. And as is the case with a lot of bands, you wonder what happened to them. And then you realize that it was just things beyond their control. And for us, our record company was absorbed by a larger record company. We lost our record deal, and we just didn't have we weren't gelling enough at the time to really kind of jump back into it. And so we decided to dissolve. And I was at a loss as to what to do. I started working on some solo material. And then in 2005, this Rockstar INXS opportunity arose. I was really hesitant. It was the early days of those types of performance contests. The only one that existed was American Idol. And so I wasn't sure it was going to be good for my career, but I knew that it was something that I would regret if I didn't do it. And so they started with the top 15. They already, all the culling that happened, all the whittling down from thousands of applicants happened not on camera, which I think is a good thing. And so we started with 15 people in Los Angeles. We were living in this giant mansion in Silver Lake. It was a total trip. It was, we were sequestered. We weren't allowed to have, any access to television or the internet. It was just a fishbowl. It was very weird. But ultimately, I ended up coming in 9th. And, it really, honestly, it didn't do anything, I would say, for my music career. But it opened the door for television. And so as I look back on that experience, I think that is kind of that really is, that was the fork in the road. I didn't know it at the time, but that's what brought me to my career now.